if you brought a farmer down here that was in the river valley, and they would tell you, you couldn't farm this land, it wouldn't be possible. But as my father always said, well, when you turn over a stone, what's always underneath it? Moisture. So you always find a reason stones are good. I don't have to carry a hammer. Nelson Ceccarelli Farms, located in Northford, Connecticut. I'm a third-generation farmer. In '97, the family sold the development rights through the Connecticut program, where they buy our development rights and it remains with an agricultural easement. And so in '98, my Uncle Tommy, who was the last person involved in the farm, passed away. We had a partnership agreement, him and I. And so I had the ability to purchase his interest, not so much in the land, but in the business. We had a lot of infrastructure issues. We had no coolers. We had no packing house. My uncles were older, and they certainly weren't modernizing. A lot of old equipment, a lot of old ideas about how to do things.
When Nelson took over the farm, some of the practices that changed are drip irrigation with plastic, and also staking the tomatoes. That's something that was never done before. After that, one of the other practices that was adopted was zone tillage, and that's used on some of the different vegetables we grow. When you start changing the way you do things, sometimes you're scared. You just don't want to do it because it's farming. You got 1 year, We
grow 60 acres of sweet corn and 60 to 70 acres of mixed vegetables, which would include in the spring lettuce, spinach, cabbage, peas, green beans, summer squash, winter squash, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant. So we grow a lot of different crops. I didn't know my grandfather, but the farm has always grown a lot of different items, and I never changed that because early on I could see that really helped a lot of times. If you only grew corn and tomatoes is a big money crop, but if it doesn't come in good, you could have a big loss. When you diversified enough, you're not relying on any one thing to make the season come out. There's certain things my Uncle Tommy taught me about this farm you can do and certain things you can't do. You have to work the land with what land you have, and so you would see if you whirled around, there's some spots we don't use at all. They might be real steep. We use them kind of as a barrier. We try. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I've changed a lot of things. Like a lot of times along a tree line, I don't plant that close to it anymore. What is the point? You're just wasting money. Nothing grows. And so we look things over, and there's a lot of land on the other farm that we don't use. It's real steep, and it's too steep even for zone tilling. So we just, it's left in hay. So those are kind of decisions that we feel help make us successful.
When it came down to only basically two, Nelson and myself, and we had all these jobs, so we had to find, quicker, faster, easier ways to do it. Now the irrigation is set up. It doesn't have to be moved with the irrigation pipes, and the plastic is used for weed control and water retention. So now we're not irrigating as much, and the tomato stakes keep the tomatoes off the ground and makes for a nicer, cleaner product.
We don't want to get bigger. We want to get more efficient and increase our profit margin. That's sustainable to us. Sustainable is we do well enough that we're here next year. And the ends to that is zone tilling, integrated pest management, using the weather station to try to fine tune things so that our inputs are less and we can profit more. We don't have, this is not California. We got maybe 100 150 acres we could use. We use about 120 or 130. I'm not looking to grow that acreage. I'm looking to maximize what we can do off the land we're using.